Good morning, Bikeaholics!
Hey, Bikeaholics and listeners alike, the show is still going strong because of a lot of hard work and your support, of course. Thanks to all those loyal listeners and true friends of the show that have supported us or are supporting us. For less than a coffee a month, you can help support us too and put a little fuel in the law-abiding biker gas tank to make sure this show keeps moving on down the road. So, calling all law-abiding bikers, head over to our Patreon page and take action today. You can do so at lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. Oh, did I mention there's benefits too? From all your friends at lawabidingbiker.com, we appreciate each and every one of you. God bless and ride safe. You guys ready for this? Part 2 of the interview I did with Pablo Harnett. We're going to get into it. Still got a lot of information to throw at you guys. And now, straight from the Law-Abiding Biker Media Studio,
out of sunny Yakima, Washington,
we bring you another episode of the
#1 listen to motorcycle podcast.
We're in your head.
We're in your head.
We're in your head.
We're in your head.
Oh, let's do it, you freaking bikeaholics. You know, here it goes. That's right. Ryan Erlacher here, your host of the Law Abiding Biker Podcast. That's right. And you guys know this is going to be part 2 of the interview I did with Pablo Harnett. And hope you enjoyed the last episode. If you didn't, you really need to go back to the previous episode and make sure you catch part 1 of the interview. Otherwise, you're going to be completely 100% lost. And you'll have fun on the last episode. You'll learn a lot there. So don't forget, guys, that's right, Bikeaholics. This episode brought to you by our friends over at Biker Planet. More than just the largest niche biker dating site. It's an entire social community of bikers. Make sure to check it out using our custom link so you can get all the perks. lawabidingbiker.com/Biker Planet, guys. They are supporters of the law-abiding biker community over there. And I hope you're out getting some riding in. Better yet, I hope you're out riding and listening to this podcast. Best of both worlds right there. So I just want to do a couple things here, guys. House cleaning things, so to speak, or a mention of a video. And then, like I say, we're going to dive right back into our interview there and part 2. All right, new free video, guys, on our YouTube channel, of course. 95% of our content is for free. We do sell a few videos for obvious reasons. You guys have heard me say that before, but this is another one of those 95% that are free that we're cranking out. Rave reviews and tons of comments. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. lawabidingbiker.com/YouTube. You can set up how you want alerts, and all that. But the reason is we want the subscribers. It's social proof, guys, and it helps validate. We're starting to get very, very recognized and reached out to by big companies, I should say, in the industry, are realizing that we are a force to be reckoned with. That force includes you. I'm not saying that it's just us. The reason they have a force to recognize and deal with is because the law-abiding biker community and this platform is growing exponentially over the years. And so they realize that we have a lot of eyes and ears. And that's right, guys. You are part of the biker revolution and taking back, the biker scene, basically, guys. And that includes the industry. So head over there. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. The new free video I'm talking about is installing a Vance & Hines VO2 Naked Air Intake Stage 1 kit on a Harley-Davidson. Everybody knows, not everybody, I should say, but many of you, the first thing you do on your bike, you want to open it up, let it breathe. Of course, the air kit. And that's a simple Stage 1 air intake kit, of course. Don't worry, we have a video on that. Just go over to lawabidingbiker.com and search for Stage 1. You'll get our video and install of a Harley-Davidson brand Stage 1 intake to open it up and let your bike breathe. Well, this is an alternative that Vance & Hines make. And it's called the VO2 Naked Air Intake. It's basically going to do the same thing. It just looks a little bit different, installs a bit different, and we think it's pretty badass. We highly recommend it. We put it on Lurch's 2015 Road Glide, and it doesn't matter what bike you have, this video we'll get you hooked up on how to install that. Of course, we have affiliate links. If you go to that article at lawabidingbiker.com/VO, the number 2, naked air intake. Of course, you can just go to the site and search VO2 naked air intake. Search bar in the upper right-hand corner of every page on our website for a reason, because it has become a huge resource. And we want to make sure it's searchability instead of emailing us and asking. We don't mind that, but it may be a little time before we get back to you where you could just go to the website and search and find the same thing we're going to do, because we can't remember. Literally, people email us and we just go to our own website, and me and Lurch and Rick Kane and stuff that are involved, and we search for whatever you want us to, and then we come up with the link and we just cut and paste it and email you back. That's the slow way to do it. Just go search yourself and you'll get instant gratification, because everybody likes instant gratification, right? So that's where you get it. And over there are affiliate links, of course, the exact product we use, and it's goes through to a Revzilla affiliate link. Very good price on that over there. And of course, no additional cost to you. We do get a small kickback if you choose to purchase any of those items. And never forget about our page, guys, please. It's a way you can support us. I mention it, lawabidingbiker.com/banners, BANNERS. You go to that page anytime, bookmark it, just say Help Lab. And you go over to that page, there's a ton of different banners for Revzilla and Motorcycle Superstore and JMP Cycles, Amazon, and more. Click through any of those, and if you do decide to make a purchase, we get a small kickback. Again, no additional cost to you. So if you're going to buy it, please click through one of those banners. It's a way you can put a little fuel in the law-abiding biker gas tank so you can help us keep this thing heading on down the road. So we're going to get back into our part 2 interview. Of course, Pablo Harnett. He's the chairman of the Alliance National Advisory Board. And again, you should be up to speed if you listen to the last episode, kind of what the Alliance is about. And we're going to get deeper into that. And then he's also the president of Full Throttle Full Mag Riding Association, Utah chapter, and has been heavily involved from the beginning with Full Throttle Full Mag and the beginning of the Alliance. And so he's a thought leader. I think you guys recognize that now. We need thought leaders in the law-abiding biker community. And I've said we created the platform here. We have the platform, and you guys know us by now. All you diehards out there, our core audience, how much we care about the law-abiding biker community and that we share this platform. We are not afraid to bring other thought leaders right on board here and see what they have to offer and get in these really, really cool, conversations and just kind of go back and forth. Because in the end, that's what we're here. We got to all work together. We got to stay in communications as we develop and as things get bigger. And we all have something, knowledge and our experience that we can impart on the rest of the law-abiding biker community. So if you know any other thought leaders, of course, our platform is open. We'll have to schedule it in and see what a person's all about, but never be afraid to hit us up, lawabidingbiker.com/contact. You can contact us over there via email. We have our voicemail right there button. You can leave a voicemail for free right from your computer microphone anywhere in the world. We get that. And then, of course, don't forget about our hotline phone number for all you got access to as a phone, 509-731-3548. But we make it very easy to contact us. So anyways, guys, with that, let's just get right back into our interview with Pablo Harnett. Here we go. And it really is. And I saw your patch you're holding up there. So yeah, that's very cool. And that's exactly what I'm seeing on the Facebook page. So you guys can take a look at this patch. Very cool.
Yeah. This is a 4-inch patch. It is possible to get a 2-inch patch as well. Some clubs like a smaller, lower profile patch. And so we also have a 2-inch patch, which is available.
Okay, sweet. Where do they get one of those at?
Contact John Larson at Independence Embroidery. He is the only person he's the only patch company authorized to make these patches. And the reason why we did it that way is not to monopolize the patches, because we don't make any money on them, but to control the hands that the patches go to. You wouldn't want to just authorize anybody to have these. That we think that there's some pride in ownership in wearing this patch, so we want to be sure that we know who has them, and we have a counter for every single patch, and know where they go. The money that comes in from these patches pays for the cost of making the patch and helps to support the Full Throttle Full Mag website, which is the host for the Alliance. The Alliance does not have a standalone website as of now. All Alliance business is hosted by the Full Throttle Full Mag website.
Okay, yeah, that's a good answer. It's basically baked in to the Full Throttle. The patch I'm looking at here, guys, it's a cookie. It's not square. It's a round cookie patch. But yeah, take a look at it. Very cool. Very cool. Now you say, this is another question I have, that there's, so obviously if someone is getting approached, and we still do, we've talked about it here on this podcast many times about law-abiding biker clubs getting approached by this, COC, this organization that somehow thinks that they have authority or something. And obviously many of us don't recognize them, period. So if they're getting approached, it would probably be beneficial, I think, to just go ahead and get a hold of you guys, because you can probably, align with you and you can give them some guidance on how to handle that.
Sure. Yeah, and we would be happy to do that. We have no wish to engage in conflict with COC member clubs. We recognize that while they are influential, they're not as authoritative as they would have some people believe. So our job at the Alliance is just to tell people what their actual rights are. If you live in this country, we live under the umbrella of the rule of law. That there you will find the guidelines for what you can and cannot do as a motorcycle club, what patches you can or should not wear, and that's all. I mean, that's all constitutional stuff, But some people find it easy to believe, that if I'm going to get respect in this world, then I need to go to this coalition of clubs and gain their approval. And while they do vary a little bit from one state to the next, they're all pretty much the same in that they are generally constructed and governed by people from the 1% world. Some are a little bit more hardcore than others, meaning that some simply look the other way when a club forms that's not in keeping with their, that doesn't intend to approach them, wants nothing to do with them. In some states, the COC simply looks the other way and says, fine, But in other states, they're a little bit more militant. They're a little bit more intrusive. They will actually go to a club and say, you know what, you didn't come to us for permission. We haven't approved that patch, and that has to happen. And that's where the conflict comes into play. We will tell people what their rights are, and if they're approached and or harassed, molested, or confronted, what their options are.
Now, also, Paul, you say that so people get hooked up with the Alliance, and you talk about networking and communication, and obviously you don't have to get into depth on that, but what are you using and what can they expect? How is this communicate? I know a little bit because I'm on the Facebook group. I know that's one. Why don't you talk about how some of this goes on?
Yeah, the Facebook page is social networking. It allows us to find each other. We actually have two pages. We have the Alliance general page, probably has over 700 members at this point. People that have been, have asked to join the page and have been put on there. They're not necessarily members of Alliance member clubs, although most are.
This is the closed group. You have to be accepted, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then along with that, we have what's called the Alliance Presidents page, and that page is exclusively for presidents of clubs that have signed the Memorandum of Understanding and are considered members of the Alliance. It allows these guys to find each other and to communicate and to exchange basic information, contact information. As you know, in the intelligence world, much of what gets discussed actually happens, on the secured lines. That we don't put a lot of that stuff out there. But it allows us to communicate, to find each other and communicate in ways that allow us to exchange information that could be critical to somebody's safety, that could be critical to somebody's well-being. With the swell in the law-abiding club culture, there's a lot of people that are new to it, that don't know the history, don't know the background, and don't necessarily know even where they stand. And this networking is helping to kind of elevate the level of understanding among those people, and allowing them to make intelligent decisions about whether they want to continue with what they're doing, whether they will stay or whether they will go. Because, like all things, the motorcycle club culture has its attrition. And we believe that what we're doing is actually enabling more people to stay and to be here longer and to be more comfortable with what they're doing.
Awesome. On this Facebook group, Paul, who are you in charge of that? The president's one, and this other one, the one I'm involved with, I think which is the it's a closed group, but it's the one that kind of anybody can.
Yeah, there's a couple of administrators. I just happen to be one of them. John Larson is one of the administrators, and I'd have to look and see I think there are 4 admins on that page. But that's so that at any given time during the day, somebody can put eyes on and see if there are any posts pending, so that we can look at who wants to post on there, and approve the post. And I would say 95% of the posts that are proposed are approved. But it helps keep the trolls and the moles and the haters away.
Totally, and totally get it, because we run the private, Facebook patron only, and you're a patron, and God bless you for supporting us. And it's good to have you in there, because that was, I don't know, a couple months ago or something. So glad to have you in the private.
When I started thinking about getting in touch with you again, I came to realize that you've been doing this for a while. You're making a difference out there, and that you're not. You're mostly self-funded. I know what it's like to be that committed to something. So you're making a difference, and if like you said, a cup of coffee, a paycheck is what it costs me to help support you, then I'm happy to do that.
I really appreciate that, and you guys are making a difference too. And that's I've got the studio that I've invested in over the years, and a lot of money and equipment. But as you know, this platform is open, and I just on the mic, and I'm the conductor of this, but I like to get you on here and anybody else. And we've had John, and I've had, Ray on here. And so if you know anybody else that, for this better cause, because this is important stuff, the law abiding biker community. And we talk, here a lot of mechanics stuff, but we talk a lot about club stuff too. And that, so anytime you guys, that Paul, want to get on here, you've got a platform, because we're all after the same thing, so, hey, I had a question. Again, talking about money and running these things, they do have costs, and I know running the Alliance has associated costs. Is there a cost for a club to get into the Alliance?
No, we avoided having a monetary structure of any kind, just to avoid the problems that come with that. That as those things grow, and I've seen it happen before with clubs and other organizations, somebody has to handle the money. And there's always going to be somebody looking over your shoulder and asking whether or not you're doing it right, whether or not it's in you're acting in their best interests. The only money the Alliance gets is from this patch, and that's it. And believe me, there's not enough of them out there, to do anything for us except the bare bones maintenance of the website, much of which is John Larson's doing. That he has a little outfit called Great Site Design. And much of the Full Throttle website and the Alliance's efforts on that site, are as a result of his efforts, much of which is funded by him.
Well, that's impressive. Only because I'm throwing out ideas, I get why maybe you didn't. Have you guys ever thought about? Because I know that clubs involved, and honestly, I need to get on board with that. I honestly get so freaking busy here at Lab Media and then the full-time job, but. Maybe a donation thing, because then it's just, hey, I want to donate and help the Alliance, but then there's not as much accountability because it was a donation. Here's the money, go forth, use it how you need to. I trust you, kind of deal,
Yeah, we do have on the Full Throttle website, there is a place where a person can go to donate, but those funds that are donated only do one thing, and that is that they help pay for the expenses of the annual conference. And that's it. They're dedicated to that one thing and that one thing only. Last year we did our conference in Tennessee last year, and it helped. It helped offset some of the expenses. We're not actually doing a conference this year because of the growth and the changes. We've decided to hold off for a year, and then next year we're being hosted by the Sons of St. Michael out of Reno, Nevada, and we're going to have our annual conference in July of 2017 in Reno, which will give us a little bit more time, hopefully to raise a little bit more money. And make it a little bit more meaningful.
And that conference, Paul, the clubs that are involved and the presidents are all, they can come. I'm sure not everybody can make it, but it's open.
Yeah. When we first started doing this, it was originally intended as a conference for club presidents, but then we realized, nobody wants to travel by themselves. So we just simply opened it up to any member of any Alliance club. You don't have to be a president to attend, and most presidents, hopefully, got to be traveling with some companions, hopefully other club members, and they're just as welcome. We were hosted by the Blue Deos in Tennessee last year. And, these guys are a class act. They did a fantastic job. We stayed at a place in Townsend at one end of the Dragon. We got to ride the tail of the Dragon, which is cool. They put on barbecues, and we had entertainment at night and good food in a resort type setting, where there was grounds, that we had access to, so we could use the outdoor pavilions. There was lots of parking, and it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. I would go back there again.
Okay, Blue Deos. That brings up, is John still involved with the Blue Deos?
Yeah, he's a member of the Missouri chapter.
Okay.
We were actually hosted this last time by the Tennessee chapter, and they're over in the Knoxville area. They call themselves the Red Wolf chapter.
Okay.
Of the Blue Deos, and they're wonderful people. There's nothing like Southern hospitality.
Oh yeah, that's great. I remember interviewing John Larson, so I just figured he was still involved with that.
And he was there actually. Brenda and I rode to his home in Missouri, and we stayed with him in Jossie for a couple of days, and then we rode together from there down to Knoxville, down to Townsend, and then back to his place. And then Brenda and I continued on our merry way and finished our 8,000-mile trip about a week later.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. All right, so hot topic. I'm going to put you on. Well, I don't think it's putting on you on the spot because, and like I say, I appreciate your articles that you do. I just read one this morning. They're a lot of fun, and you write well over there on Full Throttle Full Mag. So, yeah, I encourage everybody to get over there and check those out. So, hot topic right now, and I know you're very educated in biker culture and what's going on right now. Why don't you give me you've seen some of my articles, and we've interacted on the recent Iron Order stuff. What's your just open floor, your thoughts and or concerns or direction, things like that?
I'm a little confused. I became familiar with the Iron Order not long after they started as a club, and it was kind of friendly over social media with many of their members because they had a chapter in my dad's hometown back in Fall River, Massachusetts, and I found that just fascinating. And so I contacted them, and we stayed in touch over the years. But then, with some of the incidents that happened starting about 2013 or so, then we had the Jacksonville incident. And then we had that national election where the entire national leadership who were trying to contain the conflict were voted out. And the new leadership has basically more encouraged it than tried to contain it. My heart goes out to a lot of these members because, they are now the club that all the outlaws love to hate, and nobody, in my opinion, nobody in their right mind wants to be in that situation, in that position. I feel bad for them. On the one hand, but on the other hand, the leadership of the Iron Legacy did the right thing. When they said, listen, everything that we started to build is lost here. That we can't restore it now. The new leadership is not going to allow it. They're not interested in it. And we basically have departed from our original mission and our original goals. And so they decided to start a new club. And in doing so, they came to the Alliance because it was one of their original kind of back burner thoughts all along, and they didn't want to miss the opportunity a second time. When we were already doing what they had wanted to do originally, they got on board with us. As far as the Iron Order goes,
That is right. We'll get right back into the interview. This episode brought to you, that's right, guys, patrons, man. They make this possible. We could not do it. The community's growing. It's huge. Private Facebook group benefits. If you get over there, take action, guys. Just really no risk to you guys. You can put a monthly cap on it. You pledge a certain amount per piece of content. It's super simple. You get benefits. You get in that huge private Facebook group and forum that is becoming a beast. Amazing. Just want to thank the following people. Zeke Blake of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you. Randy Filion, not sure where. Jason Vaden of Cooksville, Tennessee. Mike, Wiznachdis of Fenton. I mutilated that. Fenton, Missouri. Jim Cole of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. John, last name unknown, of Charwana, Wisconsin. Thanks, guys. They did take action. lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. I have a video over there explaining what it's about. That's right, guys. It's a biker revolution. You got to get involved. You got to take action. So make sure that more people around the world can get hooked up with Law Abiding Biker podcast and media, all that good stuff. All right. With that said, you made this interview possible. So let's get right back into it with Pablo Harnett.
The national leadership of the Iron Order has been very, very silent and very missing in action, as far as I'm concerned, with all the incidents of the last few months. Our intelligence network is good enough now that every time somebody even flips these guys off, we hear about it, including the incidents that have evolved into violent incidents and near violence and that sort of thing. But sadly, the Iron Order has also declared the Iron Legacy a hostile club, even though there have been no hostilities between the two. And the Iron Legacy wants hostility with no one. But they've been declared hostile because of the departure, and the short-sightedness of the current Iron Order leadership and their ability to understand everything that's happened, and try to, instead of embrace the conflict of it, maybe try to embrace the cooperation of it all. And they've chosen not to do that. For that reason and that reason alone, the fact that they have declared an established alliance club as a hostile club, that the alliance can no longer entertain, any possibility of membership of the Iron Order. We just can't do that. I know that the Iron Legacy left their door open for a period of time and said any Iron Order member, who wishes to depart and pursue the original goals with us is welcome to do that. But that door eventually did close. And, again, I feel bad for these guys because, their website, they're still the original website. It's still all the original verbiage. Nothing has been changed. You would think with new national leadership and a new orientation, they would adopt, they would go back and revise all that stuff to align with their vision. But I'm not sure there is one, frankly, and that's sad, my heart really goes out to Ray Lebesky and Craig and all the other original Iron Order members who basically made the decision to not walk away and give it up, but to start over again. How can you imagine how a guy feels who started what turned out to be one of the biggest motorcycle clubs in the United States just to see what has occurred, and know the character of a guy like Ray Lebesky, I'm sure he's lost a lot of sleep over this. And again, the Iron Order, sadly, I think their only course now is to disband and allow these individuals to start over where and when they can, because right now they've lost a lot of credibility. They have no credibility with the outlaw world, and they've lost most of their credibility on the law-abiding world. So I don't know where they go from here.
Now, I'm taking in what you're saying, so I want to be fair, a little bit on the other side of that. And I get it, there's a perception problem. I'm in agreement with that. The inner workings, I don't exactly know what's going on, but I do know they have different leadership, because we're kind of talking about the Iron Legacy and stuff. Have you reached out to the new leadership of the Iron Order to see who's in charge and stuff like that, or anything, or whether they, are interested in moving a certain direction? Or
no, we have. How do I put this nicely? We're busy enough, trying to maintain what we have built thus far with the people that are here because they want to be here. We have not recruited a single club into the Alliance. Every club that has signed the MOU and aligned themselves with the Alliance have done so voluntarily of their own free will because they agree, with our philosophy. We don't believe that that's necessarily the case with the Iron Order, but we don't know. And to answer your question directly, no, we have not reached out to their membership.
Okay. I was just wondering, not necessarily for the Alliance, but maybe to get, to get the other side to that. And I don't get in the middle of that at all. I was contacted, I will tell you, by the new president. I've talked to Ray Lebesky a lot. And like you explained him earlier, he is a charismatic guy. He is fun to talk to. Also, the new president reached directly out to me and we had a long conversation. That's Britt Ward. And, those were obviously not conversations that I'm going to talk about over a podcast right now, because they were, rather confidential, just to get a feel. But I do, just to be fair to both sides, I do believe that he's a very smart individual too, talking to him. He's not dumb. He knows what's going on. Whatever, how clubs are. Whatever happened internally, we'll never know, me and you, for sure. So I try to just, give both sides that I think he's aware of the perception problem for sure. And in whatever way they're doing that, I think they really are working to clean that up. But I agree with you that it's going to be I don't know, like you, if it can be, it's not going to be quick, and I don't know what that looks like at the end of that road on how you clean that perception of whether it's real or not. I mean, what's your take on these incidents? Are you thinking that, are you thinking that these, I mean, obviously there's some of them are self-defense for whatever reason they're happening. Give me some insight.
I don't think that any Iron Order member is out there looking for trouble. I mean, only an idiot doesn't understand that if you go looking for a fight, you're probably going to find one. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're doing that at all. I do think that so far, our intelligence, I believe, is pretty good. When it comes to analyzing these situations, as kind of an after-the-fact quarterback, I understand that. But I'll say this for these guys. They have done at least what they set out to do, and that is that they stood on their right to exist. They stood on their right to wear their patches. They stood on their right to come and go as they please. And so far, every time there has been an incident that we're aware of involving the Iron Order and some other motorcycle club, the Iron Order guys have done what they said they would do, and that is that they stayed at the scene, they cooperated with law enforcement, they've stuck to that part of their mission, if you will, and so far they have come out pretty good from a purely legal perspective. They are found to have acted in a way that was at least justified. Well, leave appropriateness aside, but at least justified legally, in those scenarios. In other words, to put it bluntly, they have the absolute right to defend themselves, and they've done that, and then they've acted like people who were forced to defend themselves, and in the eyes of the law, they were treated like people who were forced to defend themselves. And we have no issue with that. Basically, they basically have walked the talk where that goes. And we have no issue with that, because any of us could be put in that situation really at any time. The problem with the Iron Order is not the behavior of the members, it's that their profile has been elevated to the point where they've become a target. And what I find disturbing about that is that the leadership is not really visible when it comes to dealing with it. And if it were me and I were in that situation, I would not sleep until I felt like I had done something positive to deal with it, in a very public way. And, like I said, you and I can't possibly know what's going on behind the scenes, and I don't pretend to. But I am a little bit puzzled, over the fact that the national leadership of the Iron Order seems to be relatively, from a public perspective, silent and letting people believe what the trash-talking bloggers are publishing, because that's what too many people read. We can't even defend the Iron Order because we don't know. They're not talking to us, so that's all I'm going to say is I think that that they have done, that they're under the gun, they're forced to defend themselves over and over again. They've done that, but in the aftermath of it, they've acted appropriately. My hat is off to those guys for that, but, frankly, I feel bad for them because they're even in that situation. Yeah,
great insight, Paul. That's why I like just spitballing stuff like this, because this is really important to the law-abiding biker community, and I appreciate you spitballing this with me. You're a leader. I'm in a leadership position, several leadership positions. So this is the loaded question, Paul, and see if you if you can't answer it, I get it. So you're the leader, without getting too in depth. You're the leader of the Iron Order right now. You're the international president. You're in his shoes. Again, it's kind of a loaded question. What are some of the what are some of the steps, immediate big steps that you're thinking, or do you just think that it's too deep to get out of and you would just disband and maybe start under different clubs? Or do you think there's some way to salvage the public perception at this point?
I can only tell you what I would do, and I'm not second guessing anybody who's currently in one of those positions, because I don't know. I can only second guess somebody if I know what they're thinking, and I don't. But what I would do, if it was me, is I would take a kitchen sink approach. First thing I would do is lower the profile of the club altogether. Lower it as low as I could get it. I would be instructing people, don't go to public events, don't go to 1%er events. If you're going to go to public events, go in large groups, where your cuts, and my mantra has always been, don't go where the outlaws go, don't do what the outlaws do. You stay away from them, they'll probably stay away from you. And that would be, that would be my whole mission, is to lower the profile of the club. The second thing I would do is to, you really don't go to war until all diplomacy options have been exhausted. Again, I don't know if they're doing this or not, but I would be reaching out to the COCs, to the club leaders and the major one percenters, and trying to find a way to stop this. If there's a way to be found, but you don't know until you look. And that would be my second kind of wave of response to this. And beyond those two things, I would be very careful about my membership. Again, I don't know what they're doing or not doing, but I would be vetting my membership very, very carefully and making sure these guys understand the risk, they understand the threat, and that they are on board with the measures we're going to take to try to slow it down and stop it. Right.
Well said. I agree with you. Low profile, definitely. And, a lot of clubs take that approach. We take that, approach. Sure. We've talked about it on podcasts. Our club, we are not going to purposely go to a one percenter event and where they are. We don't want to be around them. We don't want to associate with them. And certainly I think that would help some of that situation. I agree with that. And then, and as well as I do, they grew so fast. I saw it coming from when they started growing so fast. I said it. Yeah. I said that, and I'm not talking bad at all. And I know people in it, communicate with people in the inner. I don't have anybody around here. We don't even have a chapter here, but I said many times that club is going to have troubles keeping a hold of things when you grow that fast. We've seen it with many, many clubs that grow that fast. So I think that was kind of their unfortunate demise somewhat, so to speak, and it caught up to them in a bad way.
Yeah. And, again, we have no, well, let me just say this. If you're a member of the Iron Order, and you're listening to this podcast, I want you to know, that we believe that you probably are a law-abiding, responsible citizen who's in a bad situation at a bad time, and we feel for you because none of us wants to be in that situation, Consider your options carefully, but at the end of the day, if you're going to stand on your right to do what you're doing, we support that and we support you. My advice to you is don't go where the outlaws go. Don't do what the outlaws do. Stay away from them and they'll stay away from you. If you ever want to talk, I'm very easy to find, very easy to locate. I don't wish to take the place of your leadership, or give you unwanted advice. But if you ever need a friendly ear, we know who you are. We know you're not criminals. We know you're not bad guys. And, and we're happy to talk to you.
Right. Well said. I love that. Yeah, exactly. So we'll keep our eyes peeled and see where it goes from here. I know things are evolving, but the best thing is stay away from, I agree. Stay away from the outlaw events, stay away from all that and completely try to get that long-term separation from that, Well,
here in Utah, we're just coming into the riding season. And now on any given Saturday or Sunday, there are probably 3 or 4 or 5 competing events that you can go to, with your club, with your colors, and ride with people, rub shoulders with people, and do things, interact with people who bear you no malice whatsoever, and you're not going to have any problems. And you don't need to go to the events where you might be approached, where you might be harassed, or where you might be confronted. And for us, it's hard enough trying to decide of the events that we're attracted to, which ones we can actually do. So
right.
We look for just for those events that are sponsored by public safety, that benefit public safety, or that public safety supports to benefit others.
Right. Well said. This is interesting here. So on that note, I'm reading let's see, let me go back here and find where it was. Give me just 1 second here. Okay, so we said that you're a contributing blogger on Full Throttle Full Mag, and I was reading this morning. It was a fun one to read, and that's your AKA Biker Fleece. It was Biker Fest Las Vegas 2015. So to bring that to bring that into play here, and that's exactly what Paul said there, guys. Is he talks about this particular event, and it's just a complete farce and a money maker and just ripping people off. So that's what I say. A lot of these biker events, I like going to them now and then, but you know what? you don't need to go to all those biker events. Just get out there and ride with your brothers, man. And, we can go to an event. It's our event. We can ride we're riding to Colorado this year, and we'll go to our own restaurants and our own, but the events are fun once in a while. I agree. So there you go. Yep. You don't have to go to all those big events where for a fact that 1%ers are going to be, That's right, guys. No fear. We'll get right back into the interview. Just want to thank a couple people that made donations. And of course, we love our Patreons over at Patreon, at lawabidingbikers.com/Patreon. But we never balk at a flat donation if that is the way that you want to support us. Of course, that helps. Put a little fuel in the Law Abiding Biker gas tank so we can keep this thing heading on down the road. Exceptional Dentistry Incorporated of Toledo, Ohio. Dennis Nitzel Jr. of Mount Dora, Florida. He says, message, thank you for providing these very informative videos. He wants to say thanks, basically for saving him so much money with all our free videos. He doesn't have to give to a dealership. And Ralph Cunell Jr. of Manchester, Missouri. Substantial donation. Mark Cummings of Inverness, Florida. Fred Brandy of North Haven, Connecticut. Ron Anderson of Walbridge, Ohio. That's right, lawabidingbiker.com/donate. Help put a little fuel in the Law Abiding Biker gas tank so we can keep this show heading on down the road for you guys and keep bringing you the content that you seem to love so much. All right, with that said, I say we get right back and finish up our interview here with Pablo Harnett.
We go to a ride where we pay a $20 registration fee. We go on the ride. The money goes to benefit somebody who needs it, or causes that we support. When the ride is over, we come back here to my ranch or go to one of the other members' houses and fire up a barbecue, have a couple of cold ones, stoke up the fire pit, and just hang out till the last person drops.
That is how it's done. See, yeah, you don't have to be mingling around at every event, and just remember your roots and what you got into it for, and that's riding and brotherhood. And I would prefer to do that anyways. Our club prefers to just do our own thing anyways. Once in a while, we'll go to an event, but prefer to just hang out at each other's houses and go on rides together to places that aren't established events necessarily. So let's dive into. I know you have some thoughts on the LE patch and the way it's currently being used in the law-abiding biker, the law enforcement specific patch. Give me some insight. Let's spitball that.
Yeah. Well, I actually opened a thread on our Alliance page, and just to ask a question. This is going back about 3 months now. It was during February, I think, during the winter months when things are kind of slow. And I just simply went on there and I posed a question. I said, should a law enforcement club or should the law enforcement motorcycle club subculture have a standard about who can or who cannot wear the designated LEMC patch? Because I know right now it varies from 100% LE only down to, people who wear the patch when they don't really present themselves like an LE club, and there is no standard. So the outlaws now control the narrative, and they basically say, that if you got a cop in your club, you're a cop club. First I'm offended that they think they can control that narrative at all, but we've let it happen.
And that's right in line with the Iron Order and all the headlines, which I covered in depth. Yeah. It's calling the Iron Order a cop club.
Yeah, and I support 100% a police officer's ability, his right, in his spare time to go do something that is in keeping with his professional standards, in keeping with his personal standards, and it doesn't matter whether the people that he's rubbing shoulders with are cops or not. That's his right. But the Iron Order has never identified themselves as a law enforcement club. They don't wear an LE patch. That just comes from the outlaw narrative that says they got a cop in there somewhere, and that makes them a cop club. And law enforcement supports them, so they get away with all their bad behavior, and we look bad. That's crap. All of it is just crap. But on the other side of that coin, there are clubs out there, not a lot of them, I don't think, that wear the LEMC designation when they don't have cops in their rank, they don't have cops in their governing board, or they're not acting like cops. But they're identifying themselves that way. I belong to Full Throttle, Full Mag. We're an association. We don't identify ourselves as anything but that. I do belong to the Blue Knights. They're a law enforcement club, 100% law enforcement, and I stand on their right to do that. And I don't have a problem with the exclusive nature of the use of the LAMC patch for clubs that are 100% law enforcement. But what about those that aren't? Where do you draw that line of acceptability?
Let me ask you this, Paul, just because I don't want to miss this point. Now, I have lots of friends in the Blue Knights. I have a Blue Knights background. I brought a chapter here before we started the Sworn Few. And so that would be a point of contention with me, is that the Blue Knights themselves are not a 100% law enforcement club. In fact, I was the president here. In fact, 10% of our membership can be honorary members, and they're allowed in the Blue Knights to wear that LE patch. So I guess I have to define now. The Sworn Few that I'm with now is you have to be a fully commissioned cop or fully retired. You have a law enforcement. That to me, and I think that gets confused sometimes, that 100%, because we are 100%. The Blue Knights is not. So what do you say about that? What's your definition of 100%?
I don't have a problem with the Blue Knights and their 10% allowance. What I have a problem with is people who use the LEMC designation as a shield, to something else. I've heard excuses like, well, we wear it because it keeps the outlaws off our back. Well, okay, who are your cops? Well, and suddenly the conversation goes off a cliff, or do you have police officers at least on your governing board, and we have allowed as a law-abiding subculture that title to be misused. Now, I believe that there should be some middle ground. And by the way, that thread that I raised on the Alliance page generated days of discussion. I never said what my opinion was because I wasn't trying to impose my opinion. I wanted to know, should there be a standard? And some people said, yes, there should be. Some people said there shouldn't be. It was about 3-1. 3-1, in other words, out of 4 people, 3 people said there should be a standard. 1 said, no, there shouldn't be. That was about how it measured out as best as I could gauge. I actually tried to put a poll on there, but then we had somebody come in and derail the poll and end up getting barred from the page themselves. But I think there should be some middle ground. I've been a law enforcement officer. That's what my career was, 32 years, full-time law enforcement officer. I know a couple of things that I've learned from that. One of those is that law enforcement doesn't exist in a vacuum. That law enforcement cannot succeed without the support of the community. Law enforcement agencies can't function without civilians. And so those people should be given something. If I work for a law enforcement agency full-time and I belong to a law enforcement club and somebody came in and said, we've got a dispatcher, who's non-sworn that wants to join. We've got, a CSI technician who wants to join, but they're non-sworn individuals. Would I have a problem with that? No, I wouldn't. My only problem with the use of the LEMC designation is people who use it as a shield. And because we don't have some kind of a reasonable standard, that opportunity exists. And, the outlaws get to control the narrative because we don't have anything to fire back with. So I would like to see, it's not up to me to make the rules, and while I have my own opinion, that's not really important. I would like to see the most influential law enforcement clubs put their leadership together and say, we're going to develop a standard that says you need to at least meet this minimum criteria to call yourself a law enforcement motorcycle club and to wear that LEMC designation. I think that's reasonable, and I think it should happen. I am offended by people who wear that designation when they're not a police officer, they don't work in law enforcement. So I don't have an objection to a standard. Not up to me to say what it is, but I would like to see the most influential people get together and maybe hammer out an agreement of some kind.
Right. And how do you think that looks? Do you think that could be done through the Alliance?
Well, I know that we're going to do our conference in July of next year, and we're being sponsored by the Sons of St. Michael. They are a law enforcement club. They have agreed to facilitate a roundtable of the law enforcement clubs who will be present, just to have the discussion. Again, They're not going to try to make a rule, that everybody's going to be expected to abide by, but it's got to start somewhere. A mutual agreement is where it starts. If that mutual agreement can then be adhered to over time, it becomes a standard. That standard becomes a rule of thumb. That standard becomes what is recognized. Right now there is nothing to recognize. Therefore, there's kind of a vacuum, if you will, of a standard, a black hole where there should be something that if I was considering starting a club, what kind of a designation would be best for me to use as far as credibility and social acceptability is concerned. Don't be something that you're not. The world is full of posers.
Right.
And I don't like, I am offended by people who pose, like the offensive stolen valor, from our people who truly did serve in the military. We're experiencing some of that in the law enforcement motorcycle club world as well. And I think we need to control it. Right.
No, you're right. And it's a topic, and it's I don't have the answer. That's why I like hearing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have my opinions on that too, but I agree that I wished it were used more responsibly, but I take a harder line on that. I'm not afraid to share my opinion on that. I take a harder line that if somebody has an LE anywhere stitched on their vest, they better be a full-time cop or like you, fully retired with, and they still hold, some sort of, so our officers here in Washington still, have their firearms, and we train them. They come once a year under the House bill. But, cause man, I find it hard when somebody's wearing an LE patch and they're not a cop. And they don't have any arrest authorities and stuff like that. I think the public thinks the public that understands motorcycle clubs at all, that's their first impression, is that you are a law enforcement officer. And if you are not a law enforcement officer and you're wearing an LE patch, I don't personally dislike you, but I have a problem with you wearing that patch, just because you're going to get yourself in a predicament that you have no idea how to get out of. We're trained to deal with that, Yeah.
I agree. I could not agree more. The Alliance was set up initially by public safety and first responder types, but we opened the doors to the civilian MCs just to give them a place to go, to tell them you don't have to misidentify yourself to be safe. You don't have to do that. You want my respect? Don't misidentify yourself. Be who you are, be what you are, and you can earn my respect easily. Much more easily than if you put something on your back, that's not a reflection of who or what you are, because you're trying to avoid confrontation, because you probably won't avoid. If somebody's that determined to confront you, they're going to confront you anyway.
Right.
And then, like you said, then that situation comes up where you're in too deep and you don't know how to get out.
Right. And like you, I know one of the worries about that is if everybody's just wearing those for protection and they're going into, like we just talked about not too long ago, going into places where they probably shouldn't be, and dive bars and things like that. And now that LE patch is getting posted all over the news, it loses its credibility.
That's right.
Because, honestly, that's why, around here, we don't worry about anything in our neck of the woods, because the criminals know who we are. They don't mess with us. They know we do our thing, and they know that we're all 100% LEs. And, that just avoids a lot of that conflict. Of course, we're not going into their events and stuff either. So it can become a mutual respect but if we lose the credibility of the LE patch, that can cause problem for all clubs. Yeah. The actual LE clubs for sure can lose credibility, and, okay, how many of them are really cops, kind of deal. So we're lucky with that, but we respected that around our area, when it comes to that. So yeah, no, I agree. I think that would be a good platform to do that, since the Alliance is already set up, again, not dictating it, but just, opening up the conversation to see how we deal with that.
Yeah. And like I said, it was a little bit controversial, because if you read the threads, which went on and on and on, the responses, I should say, those who agreed simply agreed. Yes, there should be a standard. They didn't say too much more than that. But those who disagreed, those are more interesting to read. And so, again, I didn't offer my opinion. I didn't say we were going to make a rule. And most people kind of deflected the real question, should there be a standard, and came right back at me saying, you have no authority to make these kind of rules, and, we won't have this kind of rule imposed on us. Well, that wasn't the proposal. It wasn't even the question. The question was, should there be a standard? Simple question. Yes or no? But like I said, I was contacted privately off of that thread by a lot of people, who agreed that there should be. One of whom agreed that at the July conference, in July of 2017, that they would facilitate a roundtable discussion among the LE clubs present, to see if they could at least agree on something. Again, doesn't have the rule of law. It's not an imposed rule on anybody, but standard practices, what we expect to be, what eventually evolve into protocols, have to start somewhere. And this one still has not met its beginning point, and I think that needs to happen. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. The law-abiding biker community is so huge now and much more organized than it was, it only makes sense to try to, because things will just keep going out, untouched, and so some kind of.
All I can say is try to misuse a military patch and see how far you get.
Right.
Try to misuse a 1% diamond and see how far you get. We don't offer and we don't threaten violence or any of that, but we're simply saying, that for those of us that spent our lives trying to live by a standard and a code that allowed us to be in this profession, to stay in this profession, and to honorably depart from this profession, it wasn't easy. And I would be offended by anybody who thinks they can steal that recognition for themselves.
Right. Very well said. Law enforcement, it's a profession. It is, there's professionals, and no more would you put a LE patch on than walk around and your title put doctor, and you haven't been to school to be a doctor. I mean, to me, it's the same kind of violation. That's just my opinion, taking the title of something you're not. Yeah. So what else? We'll wind it down here a little bit, but you got the floor. What else would you like to get out to the law-abiding biker community? Anything you want?
I think we've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk about, except to just to let people know, that the doors are open. If you decide that, that the biker culture, is something that you want to do, that the doors are open. You can find a place. That even if you go to one club and you don't qualify for their membership for whatever reason, and you go to another club and you're not particularly thrilled with the people or the attitude or the philosophy, all you got to do is keep an open mind and you can land in the right place. And there's always people out there that will talk to you. 99% of the bikers that I know are friendly and open-minded people who will be more than happy to have that conversation with you. Whether you choose to join or not join, there's a lot of independent riders out there, many of whom are good people, and they're just as much a part of this culture as those of us that have chosen to organize a little bit, and we support them too, as best we can. This is all about riding motorcycles, having fun, camaraderie, friendship, brotherhood, being and trying to deal with the stigma of bikers in general. The stigma has become something that we've had to work very hard to overcome. And as a career law enforcement professional, that it takes about 10 attaboys to overcome one old shit. And the same is true. And as hard as we've worked in the law-abiding biker culture, we still have that stigma because the mainstream media hasn't helped us, because people are getting their information in far less than good places. And the outlaw bloggers seem to have, some attraction that I don't understand, but, we could talk about them all day long, but we won't do that, but they do contribute to the misconceptions that people who don't ride have, and the misconception of far too many people who do ride. Right.
Yeah. Oh, my old basement bloggers. Oh yeah. I love my basement bloggers. Where can people, you're very, we talked a little bit, obviously Full Throttle, Full Mag, that you're a contributing editor there, and any else you can direct people to, Facebook, Twitter, anything like that, where they can get in a hold of you if they have any questions about the Alliance or Full Throttle, Full Mag?
You can reach us. You can reach me on Facebook. I'm there under my real name, Paul Harnett. I can be reached through there. Full Throttle, Full Mag. If you can just go to the Full Throttle, Full Mag page, there are contact there are contact pathways on that website for people to contact us, including questions about the Alliance and all of that. The Alliance does have an email website called the Alliance of MCs @gmail.com. And you can direct any questions or inquiries or communications there as well.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the time, man. Thanks for being with us and hanging out, law-abiding biker here.
Hey, all right, man. Well, it's good to talk to you again, Ryan.
Yeah.
This is for all you folks out there. When you see this patch, you know that you're looking at the good guys, regardless of who they are or what their club name is.
Wow. What an episode, a 2-part series, guys. And man, I really hope you enjoyed that. I know I always learn a lot. And as I stated, Paul there, he is a thought leader. I think you guys can tell that really cares about the law-abiding biker community and its direction. And, doing all this stuff, just busy doing stuff to further advance the law-abiding biker community and what we're all about. And hope you guys got some good information and resources there. And maybe you're interested, a club out there or a club president in being involved, with the alliance and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, I do want to just thank Paul for taking time out of his day and just imparting his knowledge upon everybody out there, all the listeners and all that kind of stuff, guys. So again, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. You're welcome on the show anytime. And hopefully we can have some future discussions and just really spitball some things like we did there. So, all right, guys, call to action today. Do not forget, it is riding season. You need to absolutely get a biker gripper. I'm telling you, man. You guys have heard about them. Available exclusively in our store, lawabidingbiker.com/store. We have videos and information over there. Really the staple. It's become a staple of the Law Abiding Biker store. And we just love getting them out to you guys. And it does support us, guys. Of course, it helps support this platform. We try to support it in many different ways. And so the Biker Gripper, guys, it is, of course, say it. Say it with me. Ready? The sexiest, sleekest, strongest cell phone motorcycle and GPS mount on the market, guys. Use it to mount your cell phone GPS devices, radar detectors, EFI tuners, toll transponders, so much more. Tried and tested right here by your crew at Law Abiding Biker. Believe it in it so much. That's right. What did we do, guys? We stamped our very own logo on it. It's our approval, guys. Again, available exclusively in the Law Abiding Biker store. Chrome and black, control mount, universal mount. We've got all kinds of different options over there for you guys. All right. Well, thanks again for being involved, guys, and I really hope we get some good feedback. Don't forget, if you want to come on the website to lawabidingbiker.com/ and whatever the episode number is, you can comment and get involved. Let us know what you think. All right, guys, peace out.